Hello and welcome to a Stampscapes Tuesday Night Live. I have just found something out or just did a initial type of experiment on this pearl paper that I've been playing around with. This is a smeared image that I was testing out alcohol ink on over, I think, Claire. But the Claire can give us a really good impression, and that's one of the things that I've been struggling a little bit with this coated pearl printing paper, okay? I've gotten some good impressions out of it, like using a lot more ink, but some of the black impressions using stays on. The I don't know if I use Claire, but definitely the stays on and some black dye-based inks were a little bit anemic, okay? But I just didn't think that this type of paper that's coated would take colored pencils. Hello, Jeannie. Because this type of holographic printer paper, you just can't color pencil on top of it. It just doesn't stick. Hello, Kay. But I don't know. I tried it on the pearl, and it applied just fine. So normally I'm thinking on this type of paper, I have to do some sort of like white brilliance ink foundation in order to use the colored pencils. So obviously, the pearl inkjet style of printer paper and the holographic vinyl papers, they obviously have a different coating on them. They might have something similar, one might have something in addition to something else, but they're just different, and that's what's kind of it's fooled me. I just didn't know how to approach it because I had just assumed if something is designed to take an inkjet style of ink, you would think that they would have similar coatings on them. Even though the surfaces look different. Okay. All right, they're just not. All right, so I'm going to try this because I really have to get this down. It's been really kind of a challenge for me so far to just work through one of these experiments here on the Pearl and just have everything kind of work out. Even if it doesn't work out completely like I think it would. Hello, CM Hawkins. I'm at the point with most media that I'm not surprised too much. But this one's been kind of surprised me. I think it's because I have these notions of what Stardream cardstocks look like with certain types of media and how they take it. And now I'm a little bit more familiar with photo papers, okay? But this is, I don't know, this is like a Stardream photo paper, and it's not necessarily like either. From what I've found so far. I mean, I haven't done a ton of experimentation on it, but I need to get. I don't know. I need to get much further along with our applications on it. All right. So, where did my VersaFine Claire go? I just used it. Okay, here we go. It's on my distress inks right here. Okay, so I'm going to try the VersaFine Clairs with this. Covered bridge. I'm wondering if I should just do all those trees in black like that. I want to have more of a fall color scheme. Okay. But I would be doing this in part VersaFine Claire and these in part water-based Marvies. Maybe we should just do it all in black and then I'll just go from there. I'll just color these in accordingly. All right. Not something that I would normally do with this type of color scheme where there's going to be a lot of colors applied to it post impression, okay? And also, I'm going to be applying this. Normally, I would, I don't necessarily want everything shimmering on this, like including the road down here. But we're going to try the colored pencils and, take a crack at that with this. I think we could come up with a pretty decent kind of process here and figure out some things in terms of media surface compatibility. If this works out okay, if we can get really good impressions and have media compatibility with this sort of, fairly dynamic type of reflective surface like that, we're looking pretty good. And, I mean, if it's colored pencils and like a VersaFine Clear, most people already have it, so it's not like something that they have to go out and purchase. All right, now, see that one right there didn't like print out as dark as I thought it would. Why is it printing out like super dark like that, and then this one's like super light? That's what's kind of baffling me. I'll do a test print before the video starts, and then I'll go to this and I'll just print it out. Let me try this again here and see what's happening. Let me just go on this here. I'll use this test print one. I think this was the VersaFine Clear down there. It definitely wasn't the StazOn. But at the end of one of my videos, I tried, or I don't know, maybe this VersaFine Clear is getting a little bit dry. Let me try this again. Let me go for a faster impression. All right. I think that's it. I think I'm just taking too long with my impressions on this type of paper. You have to kind of print and, I don't know, whatever. Print and run. Apparently, with some of this stuff, I'm not used to that. I'm used to the longer you hold it, then the more ink transfer, right? I don't know, it's like the opposite with some of these types of papers. All right, so let me go grab, where did my other papers go? Now, if I had a positioner and if I was stamping that way, I could do it. All right, let me do this again here. Stamp fast, I guess. Well, let's see if this goes here. All right. I can never tell if it's completely inked up or not. Okay, so let me try this again. All right. That's like so much darker. So this is like holding it down twice as long. And this, yeah, I don't know. It's like, I don't know, 30% darker, 40. I don't know. This is like a 40% gray, if not like 35. This one is more like a 65% gray, I would say. Not totally black, on this type of reflective paper, because this black ink, it's not opaque, so you get some of this shimmer showing through. And it's not too bad, because even though stamping those trees out in just straight black, I have plenty of area to fill in with color, and that's what we're going to do on this one with the colored pencils. So I don't know, it just seems strange to me even saying that, because I don't know, going with colored pencils on iridescent surfaces just doesn't seem, like that's a viable option, because I've used Stardream types of surfaces before, and I don't know, maybe I didn't try the colored pencils on them, but I wouldn't think they would apply very well because they're a lot more sealed off. Good morning, Donna. I hope everyone's well. Is everyone staying away from those nasty flus? And I don't know, a lot of people are catching COVID too, apparently. All right, so sedge filler going across the surface like that. The road, remember, is coming out like right there. It's not super visible, or you can see it a little bit more. So I'm not going to come across the road with that, but you can come up higher too if you want more kind of distant trees, or you can have trees like in here and in the background. Let's actually do that. Let's put some trees in the background, or like hills back here. So okay, I'm getting like one really decent impression with each inking of this. Again, we're not stamping on, like a cardstock. We're stamping on that emulsion that I think is grabbing the ink much faster than it would. And it doesn't grab the ink fast. I don't know. It's like it'll grab it fast if you stamp it fast, but if you hold it down, I don't know. It's like it's sticking to the rubber. The rubber's maybe is, I don't know. The rubber's more It's definitely not more porous than this type of paper. I don't know. I don't know. Just make your impressions, you know, relatively quickly, apparently, on this type of paper for now. We might find something later with other inks. Maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe it's the Claire. I think it's the StazOn as well, though. Almost certainly with the StazOn. Okay, so these are the little maple tree tops, and we will add some like this. I'm masking off the top of the that little slope in there. Okay, we're going to have two slopes. Okay, so this isn't just going to be a meadow that's even from that point to this point. I'll show you how we do that here. What we'll do is we'll mask off an area down here, and we'll put some trees across this mask, so it'll represent kind of like this hill that dips down and goes back up that way. And you do that just by separating some of this. You don't have to do a whole line of trees, you know, across that whole span, but it's just kind of representative of that when you put this type of thing in here like that, and you have the same object in the distance as well. Okay, so maybe in the distance, maybe you just use more of kind of the tree tops, you know, where it's a little bit smaller. I mean, it doesn't really matter on this one though, because they're more deciduous trees and they're not necessarily defined by, you know, like a pine tree would be like a, you know, little rectangle. I mean, triangle. Okay, so I don't know my shapes. All right, so let's see. Let's get some of these in the foreground too. Look about like so. All right. So these are going to be kind of warmer tone, red, oranges, kind of deciduous types of trees in here. Jeannie's wearing her mask again. Yeah. My son's definitely wearing his mask at school, you know, when you're around whatever student body of, you know, 2,500 coughing kids and whatnot. It's like time to mask up again for sure. Okay, so let's see here. Let's add in some additional trees. I feel strange just stamping everything out in black again after using so much color on those purple color schemes that I've been working with lately. Hello, Linda. Donna. The Claire. Does everyone have a VersaFine Claire here that's watching? I used, I didn't use black pigment inks for a lot of the time, but a lot of times when I was doing dye-based inks on cardstocks, you know, satin, matte, glossy. For my, here I am holding this down again. Well, that one, I don't know, that one gave me a darker impression. I was using the VersaFine, okay? But everyone started talking about VersaFine Claire, and I didn't get it for years because I already had this, you know? I'm thinking, what? I already had the VersaFine. This, I don't know, it's like 20 years old or something. And I mean, the pad's still fine and everything like that, but I don't know. I was ordering from Imagine Crafts, who is the, you know, the distributor for Sukaneko, and I thought, okay, you know, everyone's always mentioning the Claire, so I got it and was like, oh, okay, that is better. Like noticeably. I don't know if the ink is different. I guess it is. I think it's finer, but the pad just feels so much better too. Not that you should get it. I mean, I didn't for a long time, but oh, I don't know. It's like those, you know, your black pads and your white pads. Well, not everyone uses white, like I do, or as often, but I think those two things are, you really just have to go for whatever's the best thing available at the time, if you're going to be using it all the time, right? And black is one of the most commonly used colors. I don't know if it's necessarily in pigment form, you know, because you can't use that with certain types of coloring, but anyway, I'm glad I have it. My preference for a lot of things, though, is if I'm using something, and if it's just a little bit better, I probably don't get it, especially if I have some kind of patent reinker for it, and I've been using it for 15 years, or I don't know, whatever it's been. I usually don't bother, but I don't know. Why? I don't know how long VersaFine Claire's been out there, but I didn't use it for like several years. Oh, you know what I think it was? I think it was if you ordered over a certain amount on Imagine Crafts, like $50 or something like that, you had to get above a certain threshold, and shipping was free. That's probably what it was. So it was like, okay, if I order that, then I'll get, I don't know, it's like, I don't know whatever shipping was, but it basically paid for itself. That was probably it. So I was forced to get it. Okay, so I'm not going with the purples in this one. I did like, I don't know, 3 or 4 purple color schemes in a row. So let's go for your traditional kind of oranges and reds here with these deciduous trees. And let me put a little bit of a border on this one. I'm going elongated like this, slimline, just so I can get a little bit more area in here, especially for a quote stamp. Nature always wears the colors of the spirit. I thought that would look really good in this type of setting. I mean, hopefully I can get some decent colors down here, so we'll see. Yeah. I'm with you, Kay. I was the same way. VersaFine had been out there for a long time, so I'm thinking, what is VersaFine Claire? What's this about? Hello, Linda. Hello, Linda D, I should say. Neither are black or white. I think mine is kind of coffee color. I do need to get some other colors. Reluctantly, of both. I think StazOn and Leclerc's. I would say Brilliance, but someone just told me it's been discontinued, and I'm not going to start using stuff and say, okay, I'm using this right now, and if you don't have it, tough luck. Although I've been mentioning to people, hey, if you think you might be wanting to get it, don't wait, Okay, so let's see here. Let's go with an overhanging branch, tree limb, type of thing. And let's see. Now I'm using these, and I've been told the 1500 series of pens are, no longer going to be available either. So, they have them now still, though. I don't know what colors they have and which ones they don't, but anyway, let's see here. Jeannie said, we can catch COVID if we are home stamping for 10 hours a day. You mean we can't catch it if we're home stamping? Or, yeah. 12 Claire's. I need to get them because I need to stamp. I've been doing these purple scenes, and it occurred to me I need to be able to stamp in those colors on, these types of surfaces, because I mostly have like dye-based inks and whatnot that are transparent. Okay, so I'm adding a foundation of brown dye-based ink, okay? Oh, this is a number 18 brown. I usually don't say colors like that because I don't want people to get locked into brands or lines. It's just a darker brown, but someone told me, hey, they've been like pausing and like zooming in to try to figure out what colors of pens I'm using here. This is the number 7 orange, okay? And I thought, okay, I'll mention just for them the colors that I'm using. These pens are like almost too juicy, and they're inked it up too much. And I've been storing it upside down. I need to store it right side up because this is almost way too juicy now. Okay, so I'm mixing a few different colors on here. There's brown as a foundation, then orange, and then red, okay? So this is so juicy right now. I guess I do need to wipe it off a little bit. When you're going with a pen that's juicier than the service that's already been applied with ink, and this is wetter, you're usually not absorbing that color back into this one. This one's usually transferring onto that, by and large. Yeah, I mean, you're going to get some residual on there, but it's, you're not really going to have to do too much about it in terms of wiping off, the ink. And it's not like this thing sits around and it just keeps absorbing in those other inks. This thing is so juicy, it's just kind of sitting on the surface. Okay, let's go. Let me see. All right. Do you see that kind of transitioning tone? You never know what you're going to get. Every time I say that, I'm thinking of I'm thinking of Forrest Gump, Every time I say you never know what you're going to get, that is. I don't think of Forrest Gump when I'm, talking about Marvy pens or something like that. Okay, so varying values, hopefully varying hues, and like I said, values. Okay, let's see. I need space for this. I need this to breathe a little bit too, so I'm going to go about like so. I'm not stamping a huge area of this. Okay, I'm leaving this space open. Oh, by the way, when you're stamping these dye-based inks over the top of the pearl, in a sense, what you're ending up with is you're ending up with a metallic-looking version of that ink. So that red is kind of like an iridescent looking impression of that ink, because these inks, dye-based inks, are transparent. So I don't know, that was interesting to me. So it's almost like we're stamping them out in metallic inks, which I find pretty cool. And I didn't even realize that until I was looking at one of the pieces that I had done that had dried. It was like, oh, that ink is like, it's a shimmery, I think purple or whatever it was. Okay, let's see. It's funny you mentioned that Genie to Linda, because I was thinking of I saw Linda's post of her 11 by 17 inch on her Flickr page, and I was thinking, Linda, at this point in time, I think it just, like I said, I've always been saying this over the past few, I don't know, maybe it's been a year by now, but the larger formats seem to open up things for you where you can stamp, card size, but for you. And then I was thinking, oh, yeah, that's Genie too. I don't remember the last time Genie posted like a quarter-page card. I don't know, you might have just did that, but I don't know. I'm always thinking about your larger pieces. It seems like those sizes are now kind of a little bit more of a hindrance, in terms of whatever statement you're making in your scenes with media and layering and all that. Okay, so those are a couple different impressions like that. It's a little bit dirty up there with kind of clutter, but we're going to bring in a lot more color into those impressions with the paint pens too. So I just wanted to get a little bit of depth in here and not just have that color, very light impression. I need this more of like a vignette too, to contain the scene with all the colors that we're going to be using. So, okay, so that is that. I'm reasonably pleased with the impressions on here in terms of darkness with the black. Okay, it doesn't look black on here, but I just think that's going to be the situation with this type of paper, because that shimmer just shows right through those inks that we apply down there, so it's reflecting a ton of lighting off the surface. If you go like this, I mean, and it's also a little bit resistant to the ink because of that pearl kind of coating on there. Like I said, I would have thought that the coating for the inkjet printer paper would compensate for the coating of the pearl, because I would think the inkjet thing, or whatever, that coating on that emulsion coating, assuming that's what it is over the top of the pearl, but maybe it's a really light coating where on some of these ones, maybe it's a much thicker coating of that emulsion or something of that sort. I don't know. Okay, let's see. All right, colored pencils. Now I'm wondering if I should go on here with some other types of colors, but let's just try this with colored pencils, okay, and just keep things really relatively basic, in comparison to other types of combinations. All right, so my color schemes, when I'm doing any type of color scheme, I grab the colors that I think I'm going to be working in terms of the family of colors, and I just line them up from light to dark. And that way I can kind of see the general color scheme as I can imagine it or whatnot. So if trees are kind of in these tones right here, that'll be that transition. The grasses will be kind of in these green tones right here. And then I have my browns, okay? But the browns are kind of, I don't know, that bridge between the two. I'm not necessarily, I might have some of the oranges down here in the grasses, just for a little bit of continuity, but I think it's going to be more like the greens are down here and these tones are in the trees. Even though you wouldn't have spring grass and, full deciduous, trees in full color or something like that. But, the browns, I think, will mellow out the greens in there. Okay, so anyways, what I was getting at right here is we'll have some browns and greens and some browns in the reds and oranges, okay? So these are the ones that are kind of the bridge between the two different color schemes. And if I had blue up here, I wouldn't put the browns and the blues or something like that, unless it was like a sunset scene or something like that. It wouldn't necessarily be blue though, but I might bring in some of the blues down to the grass though, because blue is a component of green, right? So that being said, Linda has ordered holographic vinyl from Amazon Australia. Excellent. Is it the holographic vinyl printable paper, or is it just the holographic vinyl, Linda? Or do you know? Okay, so let's see here. Finally claim to do this now. Yeah. Well, I hope you have some fun with that, Linda, because it is pretty cool utilizing these types of reflective surfaces. And it's just a different, I don't know, it's a different, well, it's definitely a different end result, but it's a different process as well. Okay, so here's what I'm doing too. Okay, so let me extend this a little bit too. Okay, so these oranges, I don't know if I'm necessarily using all of these, okay? I probably won't, but this is how I approach these, okay? So this isn't just colored pencils, this is with anything. And this is what I'm doing if I'm doing paint pens or something like that. I might not be lining them up like this, but I'm grabbing them in this type of order, okay? I don't have like a gazillion paint pen colors, especially in the 3mm ones, okay? I might have like yellow, orange, and red or something like that, but I'm working in that order here. But you just kind of generally, I find it easiest. I mean, this is not like colored penciling 101 technique or something like that, for colored pencil artists or something of that sort, but it's the way that I find works for me in terms of keeping something to a pretty gradual process that I think develops at a rate that I'm comfortable with, which is relatively slowly, okay? Now this is the thing that I found pretty interesting here. I don't know what kind of buildup I'll be able to get with this, but I found that a couple different layers of colored pencils are working just fine on the pearl. I have a feeling that, if I build this up too much, it's just the colored pencil is not going to apply because there's going to be too much of a thick wax buildup. Okay, now, normally people are the ideal type of surface for colored pencil artists are going to be papers that are matte and have a little bit of tooth to it, okay? Well, this is neither matte and it has like no tooth to it, okay? But it seems textured enough to where it is accepting of at least a little amount of this type of medium, dry medium. If someone, I really doubt, I can't see something like a chalks or pastels working on it, but I think I should probably stop assuming anything about a lot of different media out there, because a lot of it I've been mostly pleasantly surprised at what they can take. It might not be just straight on like this. It might be through a layer of brilliance ink or something like that. But I don't know. There's just a lot of things that apparently seem to work that I didn't think would. I would say a year ago, but it's almost like every step of the way, you know? Like this one right here, I don't know. I didn't think it'd work. What time is it? Like 40 minutes ago, I applied some on here. I thought, I wonder if the colored pencils would stick to this. I was going to toss out this little print, test print piece of pearl, and it was like, oh, I applied 2 layers of colored pencil on that, and it went on pretty good. Okay, so this is my base layer coat. All right, so yellow is going to be a good foundation for both your green tones and your oranges, as well, like I said, as well as I'll do that with browns in here. Oh, let's see, I forgot about this area in here. A 4-kind pack, okay. Oh, the holographic vinyl, like the yeah. So it's like a different different patterned vinyl that you got. It's like one's like stars and one's like a glitter and one's a holographic or something like that. If so, that's like one that I just got myself. I almost forgot to do this side of the road right here. All right, let's go on with, okay, we're done with this, okay? Kind of. I mean, we can go back in with a brighter application of it, but now we're nowhere near kind of our darker tones, you know? But what I'll start doing after that base coat is I'll get a little bit more, kind of shadow focused here, the darker I go, okay? So darker parts of the images, like right in here, you can see that I'm just kind of focusing more of this tone. Now I'm going to blend it out because like I said, I have a lot more colors to get to before I get to the darkest of colors, the darkest of values of certain colors, hue. On something like this, like the trees behind this covered bridge, I'll make it a little bit darker. If you have a little bit darker behind these types of objects, those objects will tend to stand out from the background a little bit more. And remember, this is going to be colored brown anyway, so I want to make the background around there, I want to make it stand out from that background. Okay. I almost forgot to do this foreground tree right here. All right, see that? We're getting a little bit darker as we go. So hopefully the more layers you put down, it becomes more and more rich in terms of your surface quality. And it just becomes richer in terms of color, actual hue, different colors, contrast, and saturation. So the contrast will be the darks, which will mean, as opposed to a really light, dull application of colors, you will get, darker and more intense, brighter versions of those existing colors on here. Okay, but see how this looks right now? It's just all kind of, you're just bringing things into focus kind of slowly, color by color. And sometimes people can't see, you know what I mean? If you don't work in this type of process right here, we're just kind of building up these types of tones like this. It's a different type of kind of feeling in that process. Because, like say, if people are doing trees or something like that, they might think of, okay, I'm going to do these autumn trees, and okay, let me look for a color called autumn red or something like that, right? And they might be bringing in like other types of colors too, an orange or yellow or something like that, but they're looking for specific colors to inherently have, all those different types of quality tones within one color. But it's much richer if you can kind of build through varying tones, provided those your media is somewhat transparent, or see-through, or a little bit translucent, which colored pencils are, alcohol pens are, even the acrylic paint pens, which to me I feel they should be a little bit more opaque than they are. You can still see through them, so building up your lighter colors underneath it, or your foundation colors in conjunction with what you can see on the surface, it just looks so much better and richer of a kind of end result. All right, so let's see. All right. Okay, now as I move into these oranges, I'm going to be more kind of tree oriented in here, and then we'll move from wherever the grass is right now, more in terms of the greens that way. So I don't know, there was like these three kind of yellows, a little bit of an orangish gold yellow to kind of more of an ochre looking tone as my foundation colors for both areas here. Okay, so let's go in with the oranges like this, and let's start to really kind of develop, and hopefully at this point in time, it just doesn't start resisting my applications and I'm stuck with, yellow trees here instead of orangish tinged ones. It is little bit built up in some of these areas. I'm finding that kind of applying this in some areas, I'm not getting very much of a transfer, because it's kind of, I don't know, I guess the pores, what little pores there are to this surface, it's they might be kind of already filled up. I can use a harder kind of application with my pressure here, but I don't want to use that yet. All right, so there's the oranges back here, and then I have some trees down here. Some more kind of sapling-sized trees, because they're in the foreground. They are the same trees that I used in the background, but the fact that you have them lower in the composition, it represents having them closer to us, and since they're the same size, it would just be, same size in terms of right here, but back here they would represent much taller trees because they're higher up on the composition and farther back in the distance. In some of these areas, the feeling that I'm getting from applying this, as soon as you start using it in areas where you've already kind of gone for, 2 or 3 layers down there, it almost feels like I have this colored pencil and I'm trying to apply it on wax paper. You know what I mean? It's just not transferring very well. But hey, I didn't expect it to. I just, as long as we can get a couple layers down there. Hello, Paper Genius. Good to see you. We're doing some Tuesday night. It's Tuesday night in the lab, the stamp lab here. Okay, so covered bridge. Kind of a uniform application. I'll alter it, going forward here a little bit more. All right, now this is the brown, and this is one of those colors that I was mentioning that I like to use as a kind of a transition tone too. So let's add some of this into the trees in the background. It will be just kind of an earthy looking addition to the color scheme. I'll focus it in some of the grassy areas in the trees and in the shadows that the trees are casting here. Like that. All right. Shadow areas right in here. If you ask, well, where are the shadow areas? Just kind of look for the darker areas within the different textures, okay? So, there's a little row of rocks in here. And, you're not putting in like a super dark, application of it. It's still, it's fairly light like that, okay? But if there's like some rocks sitting around like that, you can kind of give it a little bit of a shadow like that. All right, so that's what I'm doing within this space in here. And it just kind of gives it a little bit more dimension, or a lot more dimension. The road, like this, okay. I'll vary it a little bit too. I'll go, let's see, let's make it a little bit darker right here. Just so it's going a little bit darker, lighter, darker. And when I say darker, it doesn't have to mean dark. It's just a little bit darker than the rest of it, just to get a little bit of variation. Maybe there's a cloud coming over or something like that, casting a little bit of a shadow or something of that sort. And that pearl paper is showing through the colored pencils. Colored pencils are wax, but it's just, unless you get a really thick application of it down there, that shimmer of the paper is still going to show through. So it's like a very reflective application of colored pencils still. All right, that brown's getting a little bit monotonous in terms of the color tone of it. Let me try, let me see. This one might be really similar. Certain colors are fairly similar. I'm making my covered bridge a little bit darker on this side, so it looks a little bit more three-dimensional. Let's get some shadows underneath the eaves like this. So Paper Genius, this is the pearl paper, and I just found out that it takes colored pencils, I don't know if you'd call it reasonably well as far as colored pencils go, you know what I mean? It's limited, but I don't know, for my purposes and my kind of, I don't know. I don't know what you call it, skimpy use of colored pencils. I don't know, it takes it enough. I'm not putting in huge kind of colored pencil textures with this or anything like that, or, super built up layered tones, although I'm getting more and more layered as I go. As long as it keeps taking it, I'll just, I'll take it. I'll take as much as it'll give me. In other words, if I start applying and just nothing is transferring from pencil to surface, I just know that I've achieved kind of super saturation with the colored pencils in that area, so that there's nothing more to really do. All right, let's see. Let's go. Let's start bringing in some greens down here into this meadow. Okay, so see where this is kind of changing in terms of light and darks in here. When you get into your medium and darker tones, try to retain some of those changes in value. Okay, we need to go in here and fill some areas in like that. It's looking a little anemic right now, but you don't have to do it in the lit illuminated areas. I mean, you could put some in there, but do it a lot in kind of the shadow areas like this, okay? So that you can still retain kind of this sense of lighting throughout the piece. It doesn't have to be everywhere, okay, but just so that you have a little bit of this oscillation of light and dark on any types of surfaces that are flat. Like if this was concrete, then it would, there might be kind of this uniform kind of lighting going across it, or it might be just much more gradual than this undulating kind of feeling of it through the use of, again, varying your shades. So in other words, I'm just going to, here's a little bit of light, it gets darker, there's lighter, darker, lighter, It'll be darker down here when I build this in. This is a much brighter tone, so it's really standing out much more visibly on the surface right here. I mean, the other ones too. I mean, I wasn't pressing hard, so I wasn't necessarily getting a really super strong application of those either. But you can always go back to those, so I always find it's kind of best to build gradually. I think if you took an eraser to this colored pencil, though, you'd get some of it off with no problem. Yeah, it's not only the pearl paper, but this one happens to be the pearl printable paper, I think it's different than, the pearl cardstocks. You might be able to do the same things, but it would probably feel a little bit different in terms of the application, at least. I feel like I'm on the cooking channel or something like that, where some, one of those chefs goes around the world trying to describe to you the, the, the taste and textures of whatever they're eating. Okay, so, what is this? Olive green right here. So just one of your darker greens. So I went with basically, I think I used this one first. This one's so much brighter though, so I use this one second. It's more powerful, even though this one's darker in terms of value. I went from this one, which is kind of a neutral green, to this very, very bright warm green right here. Now we're going with a little bit of a darker green. Well, it's not that much darker, but it is darker. So I'll focus that in some of these darker areas at the base of trees, where the trees are casting shadows onto the grassy areas. I'll put some of this green up into my trees too, some of those evergreens that flank the deciduous. If you want the road to stand out a little bit more, then kind of make a little bit of a stronger, kind of framing around those types of visual lead-ins, I guess. Go like this. You don't have to be shading like a particular object in there. You're just kind of outlining the road. You can see that, kind of defining it much stronger like that. Okay. Now, after all these colors too, I'm going to go in here with black, and that will take care of like some areas that are just like super dark, bright or something like that that need to get kind of bumped down. Black takes care of a lot of that. And I'm just hoping, like I said, I'm hoping that I didn't super saturate where I can't really apply like the finishing touches with another colored pencil, even though I do plan on going in here with other types of textures and media over the top of it in the form of the paint pens and pigment inks. Okay, these trees were looking a little anemic out here, these green ones, so I'm just going and coloring those ones in as well. Even though they don't really color, they get a little bit richer in terms of, just kind of a neutral grayscale. Then you're giving it kind of a hue to it, even though you can't really see the green too much in there. And I stay within the tree. I don't go like out, I'm not coloring like out here. Okay. I'm staying more like within this area right here so that I can keep the silhouette of that edge crisp as opposed to having this glowing kind of green out on the perimeter of it. Okay. All right. So that is the greens there. Let me go a little bit darker here. Here's like a bottle green or something like that. And it's just called dark green. Okay, now here's something that is very noticeable with this one. This pencil right here, this dark green, it's a lot softer than that previous green that I just used. What was that? Olive green. Okay, this olive green, it wasn't applying very much, but now I go this dark green, and it's going on here, even though it's another generation away from the surface of this paper that's going to be the most porous for the colored pencils. This is just softer, so I'm finding it's applying on here with like zero problem. All right, so I guess it's not just the amount of layers you lay down with certain colored pencils or browns or whatever, but it could be the color too. See, this is getting much darker, and I'm able to get that nice shadow kind of work in there. Go around in here, add some darker shadows underneath these trees in the back. All right, so this one's really great. I'll for my purposes, I really like these really soft colored pencils. All right, so that is that. Okay, let's go into, which I'm hoping will kind of really give the spirit of this scene its, I don't know, whatever character. I'm looking at that Claire up there where it's stamped out over the top of that red. I wonder if that Claire got a little bit, I don't know, lighter on there or something like that. Well, it definitely dried, so... Oh, you know what I think happened on this VersaFine Claire? Where it stamped a little bit darker in there, I think it dried lighter and more see-through, so you're getting more of that silver shining right through that Claire up there. See, the Marvy inks were a little bit thicker, so it's a little bit more opaque, just probably because of the sheer amount of ink on there, using those pens like that. But and I think that's what happened with the Claire. Okay, now this red here is another super soft one, so it's really working for me just fine. Okay. I mean, I have a feeling I can get really bright with this red if I want to, but we'll see. Let's kind of build it up first. Let's see. I haven't tried Gamsol, no. I've never tried Gamsol for any process. I'll have to try it sometime, but generally for me, I'm someone that came up using colored pencils specifically for the textures that they provide. Okay. And I'm not looking to, it goes against kind of my upbringing, my, whatever, with colored pencils. Although we didn't use them really too much in school, but you use the media like specifically for the types of textures that they give you. Okay, so if you're working with a paintbrush and whatnot, you don't want it to look like an airbrush smoothness or something like that. You want to show your brush strokes and things like that. With the colored pencils, it was all about the textures of them. But that being said, if you have some really smooth applications of certain things, then your textured ones kind of stand out much more by contrast. So it could be a really great kind of combination of smoothness, blended, and kind of the more, you know, textural quality of the object on that surface. I don't know, that's what I was thinking of, just in terms of a contrast that I'm always trying to, I don't know, employ. I use the white paint pen, or, for texture, or the white pigment ink or something like that. I'm always looking to make something soft against something that's already kind of crisp, and it just kind of enhances, or not enhances, but emphasizes those different, I don't know, whatever the different types of qualities that are within the piece. All right, so this red is really working great. I don't know, looking at that red, I was thinking it was going to be a much harder, because apparently I've hardly ever used this red because this is like, it's a really sharp pencil, and I haven't sharpened my pencils in like, I don't know, maybe like 15 years. I don't know if it's been that long, but it might be. I hardly used colored pencils, before, even though this is a really, really old set. I'm talking about in rubber stamping. We had to get them for some reason in a art school. It was probably like beginning drawing or something like that, where we barely used it in class, that first semester, and then it's like, all semesters after that, no, we just never, it never came into play. Okay, so I need to get a little bit more gutsy with this. I'm always kind of a little bit more conservative with my color applications, especially when it comes to like deep, vibrant reds. I need to utilize some of these tones a lot more. Kind of I don't know, whatever, vividly. I still have this red too, this kind of warmer red. This one's kind of like a neutral red. It's like a Christmas red or something. All right. Remember, these are all going to be kind of a foundation coat for some paint pen work too, but if I get a lot more done like this, there's probably going to be less paint pen work. If I can get a lot of the vibrancy and kind of intensities with this, with these colors, I don't know. And the paint pen should apply over the top of the wax, I'm guessing. I've done it before, but I don't know, I haven't used the colored pencils so, um, I don't know, whatever, thickly before. I don't think I did. I haven't used watercolors for stamping, but I know people who swore by those and they really loved them. They said the reason why this one person used watercolor pencils over colored pencils because she said they were softer. Hello in Norway. Good morning to you. You're an early riser there, or you're more like me and you just haven't gone to bed yet. Hello, Cheryl. Hello, Lyndon, South Australia. We need to say Linda D. Linda D. and NSA. You know, I told you before when I saw that SA, or when you said SA before, right? In past videos, I always thought I was thinking South Africa because that's what um, I don't know, customers or whatever refer to from there. Okay, so let's see here. How's that weather going in South Australia with the where are those like flooding? Where's the flooding occurring in Australia? What part? Okay, this is that warm red. This is like Domino's Pizza red, and I know that color well because I used to work for Domino's Pizza when I was in high school. Not for a super long time, but I worked for them for like, I don't know, it's like my senior year. But I was in graphic arts class, and one of the things back then, they didn't have a lot of corporate types of merchandise. Okay, so one of the things that my particular branch wanted to do was do those um, car magnets, where there's this big sign that they could slap on the side of a car that would say Domino's Pizza. And I was in my high school graphic arts class, and we can do silk screening, so we had to get the exact colors of Domino's Pizza, and Domino's Pizza, their red is called warm red. So I had these little cans of warm red to silk screen like these Domino's Pizza signs for the drivers. And the drivers needed it because one of our delivery areas was on the Air Force Base. And back then, you can get civilians onto the Air Force Base, pre 9/11 and all that, like well before that. But, you know, the drivers would have to pull up that didn't have base privileges, and they'd have to, I don't know what they were doing before we had a sign on the car. It's like probably show them the, that, whatever you call those different, those pizza bags. All right, adding in some darker tones in here, okay? All right. I forget a lot of things, but apparently I guess I don't forget certain colors or something like that from, I don't know, whenever that was, 90 years ago. Okay, this is black going in here, and we're really defining some different types of shadows within these spaces, okay? I'm putting it at the foot of these trees within this meadow. You can put it in the grassy areas too, but I think kind of just anchoring the trees down is a good use of black. You can use other colors too. My painting classes would cringe if if I was using black for shadows or something like that. But They would want some kind of more complementary color or something like that, like purple or something like that. Yeah, I'm not kidding there, but something like that probably. But this is a fast and easy way to do it, anchoring down these little rocks, like I said before, adding in a little bit more of this kind of a framework around my road to make it really stand out, kind of and more three-dimensionally, more dimensionally, I should say. Let's see. 15:05. You gained an hour there, Linda. It's looking more like fall. It's getting there, isn't there? A little bit more each time. And then I haven't even gotten to the things that are really going to stand out, I think, which are the paint pens. I really want to get some shimmer in there. All right, so let's see here. I was thinking about using a fence in here, but I always do that down here. Let's just go for the meadows right now. Oops. Let me see here. Accidentally hit my... Hello in Belgium. Good to see you. Gloomy floods in Victoria, New South Wales, and Tasmania. All over that whole area, huh? Wow. That is shocking there in terms... I need to take a look and look at the latest news and videos for that area. I've been watching so many flooding footage, like over this last year. Some areas domestically. I have I think I mentioned in the previous video, one of my former art professors lives in Florida, and that Hurricane Ian just wreaked havoc over that in those areas. Okay, going on with some brighter tones, okay? See, I apply kind of light and dull, and then I work darker and bright. But see, I'm getting, I don't want to just apply those just right off the bat because I don't have control over that. Maybe if someone was like working in colored pencils all the time, they would be, they would have mastery over it. Now, whether they'd have mastery working over pearl or some kind of foreign surface like that right off the bat, I don't know. But they would have a much kind of better knowledge than I do of colored pencils. But like I said, it's a little bit different. It's kind of strange as I'm building this up. At one point in time, it got to, look at that shimmer going across there like that. It was like I was achieving super saturation. I think it was with the orange tones. But now, going back to this, I don't know, it seems to be applying just fine. I don't know what happened. It's, maybe this is like maybe I didn't read the complete instructions for this paper, but maybe it's like a pearl mood paper. You know what I mean? It changes, like from, I don't know, whatever, hour to hour in terms of what it'll take. It almost feels like that. It's like, what? Why is this going on so smooth? I'm going on with brown now, see, back into this road, because I framed it off more now, so it can take a deeper hue and be defined still on the edge. If I went this dark before, when it was really light out here, that road wouldn't really stand out too much, so going in here. But see, I still like to keep some of the road nice and light. Anytime you have like a visual lead in, okay, I mention this all the time, but if you have something coming out at you, a road, a river, kind of a body of water, if the body of water is like all the way across, then, you don't have to leave that whole thing light, but kind of, if you bring in some tones or shadows into it, leave a little bit of an area for your viewer to kind of enter the scene and wander throughout. Now, this one leads right to a covered bridge, so naturally, the visual path is like going in here. But see, right in here, see, that's like, this pearl paper, it's almost like that's my sun right there, where it's reflecting that light. And see here, there's this path of light coming through here. It undulates between, it goes dark, light, dark, light, dark, light. You know what I mean? Now, I wasn't planning that or something like that, but it just happened that way because, I have these areas that I've oscillated light and dark. Okay. So in other words, just don't color everything completely uniform like that. And you'll get this kind of these natural passages of light. But, so going back to this, if you have a river, a stream, I don't know, roads, whatever, leave some sort of a little bit of an illuminated area. It doesn't have to be completely illuminated. See, I'm coming across here with, some brown in here, but just in general, this area in here, even in the darkest area, is still lighter than some of the darker areas around it. Okay, that will lead your viewer right into the scene. It pulls them in fact. As opposed to this really dark, gloomy road or something like that going in there, then it's like, whatever our internal warning system, it probably says like keep out. All right, so the bridge here, a little bit more. And this little water area down here. Let's bring a little bit of blue tones into that, right? So kind of lighter, brighter ones and a darker one like that. How are things in Belgium? I was just talking about Belgium like a couple days ago, believe it or not. My son is in high school now, and in his weightlifting PE class, he took weightlifting for PE. And I just said, oh, and they work in partners, just for safety. And his partner is a student that just moved here from Belgium just a few months ago, like to the U.S., to the United States just a few months ago. All right, so there's a little bit of that blue tone, but see, I put some of that blue in here, but I'm also bringing it out here. Otherwise, it'll look a little bit kind of unrelated. I don't know if you can see that little tinge of blue in some of these areas like this. Here, I'll even use it on my road here a little bit, okay? I don't know if you can see it, but that's one of my little tricks that I do. Okay, see that little tinge of blue right there? If I didn't say it was there, I don't know if you would notice it, but see how it gives a little bit of continuity. See, there's a little bit up here and here. It's the blue over that green, so it's not just straight blue, but you do that and it brings that kind of a little bit of it's like a color harmony to the piece, you know. Here, let me just add some of it up here even. It's not any color, but I don't know, like a warm bluish tone like that is a really good one, and especially if it's nice and pale. Okay. All right, so that is that. For those that just joined in, we're using the I don't know if I have that pack of paper here, but it's a pearl paper, okay? It's a pearl printing paper. So it just adds in that little extra, or a lot extra, of reflective type of lighting into the scene, especially up in the sky like that. You know, it's almost like you don't even have to do too much to it or anything. And you get these variations of light in that area like that. So even when it's nice and flat like that, I don't know, it just looks different under different light. Look at this right here. That looks like a different color scheme almost than when I go like that. See, this looks like blue up here. I don't know. It looks like a bluish tone to me when I hold it like that direction. This direction almost looks like it reddish. I don't know, briefly at least. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so orangish tones. Here's red. Here's this type of color scheme here that we used in the trees, right? Well, let's see. Let's leave this one out of here. That's a little bit of a dirtier looking orange, but oh, let's see. It's going something like this. And let's just leave the pink out of here. Okay, so this is this right here, but see, this is the same thing as this type of thing, right? You know, we're going like that, right? I mean, you know, that's all I do. You know, in terms of my color schemes. If I was working with dye-based inks and paint pens, I would do that color scheme in the paint pens. You know, when I use some of the paint pens down here in the grass, all it's going to be, you know, here's the light green and dark green. I mean, you don't have to have the same amount either, you know. It's just similar types of strategies here, and it's just the same one every time. So here's the paint pens of these two colors, right? So it's like light green and dark green. Here's light green and dark green at that. Okay. So I keep things pretty simple. Oh, Panic Coffee. Okay, that's you too then. Excellent, excellent. I don't think I've seen you guys on since maybe my midnight here time, which is in 2 hours. Hello to Panic Coffee. All right, my big finger on my tiny keyboard of my mobile phone. I'm with you with the tiny keyboards. I couldn't believe it either, CM Hawkins. I had this piece right here, and for those that didn't see me, this little test print here, and I just started working on there. It's like, oh my God, that worked. Why does it work on that paper, but it doesn't work on, you know, colored pencils don't work on this. I'm not, you know, the colored pencils, just, you wouldn't be able to see it as much on this one either, but I'm talking about just the application. This is a printable vinyl, and it's a printable, you know, cardstock. I just don't think, and this wasn't a small amount of pencils either, you know, and there's browns in here too that were laid down in here, you know, so I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I wouldn't think that I wouldn't think that, you know, when you lay down colored pencils because they're, you know, a dry medium, I wouldn't think they change. Some of these, though, look like it got a little bit duller after application. I thought it was brighter in some of these areas, then it just kind of mellowed out a little bit. I don't know. It shouldn't, because these colors, it's not like they're moving on here, as far as I know. Unless it's engaging somehow with the that emulsion coated surface. I don't know. I'm trying not to be too surprised about anything when it comes to maybe this paper. This paper surprised. I don't know. I'm getting surprised by all the printable papers, and it's for more reasons than one. First of all, I would never have thought about printing on these types of surfaces as a viable stamping surface in the past. And when I'm talking about the past, I'm talking about, like, I don't know, like 3 months ago or something like that. Okay, so the paint pens should bring in kind of a stronger intensity. You know, here's this red right here. You know, and even in its strongest form with a colored pencil in equivalent color, like that. Although that does, I don't know, you probably can't see it though, but these two are a little bit more see-through, because you're getting a little bit of texture in there. Okay. Now, here's my theory. When I lay these paint pen applications on a lot of different surfaces, it changes, the look changes from the time that I apply it to the time they dry. They're more see-through, okay? I don't know if it does, I don't know if it has to do something with just the sheer evaporation, or if these types of paints are absorbing into the surface of the paper a little bit more as they dry. I mean, it didn't take a long time for them to dry, so it's not like an oil paint or something like that where they're just suspended in, you know, their binder for a long time before they set up and dry, and it's just absorbing more and more into whatever surface you used them on. But okay, but what I'm getting at here is this has this wax coating on here, so I'm not necessarily using paint pens on a pearl paper, even though it is. I'm really using these paint pens now on top of colored pencils, because that's really the surface at this point in time where I'm going to be utilizing these. And I haven't done that too much either. But let's see how this goes. Like I said, I don't know. I'm pretty happy with the Claire though, in terms of the impression quality on this pearl. I mean, I haven't abandoned other, papers in favor of this pearl either. It's just that I haven't used this type of paper too much. I guess the iridescence a little bit in the form of the Stardream brand of papers, the iridescent cardstocks, but definitely not printer paper. I don't understand where the pearl printing paper comes into play, because the examples that they show are where people are just printing out normal, I don't know, portraits and stuff, family members and stuff on pearl. So wouldn't it give them kind of a metallic kind of shine to their faces if you're printing out people? Like just, pictures of people like that? Or I guess it would have like a shine over, I would think it would have a shine over everyone. It's like everyone's made out of tin or something, You would think, unless, they're just completely getting covered with ink or something like that. You can't really see the pearl underneath. Maybe it just gives it a little bit more shimmer. I don't know. Okay, so with the paint pens, I'm working from dark to light, as opposed to the previous colors of colored pencil where I'm working from light colors to dark colors, okay? Because these pens should be a little bit more translucent, so I can build up light over dark. But if I go with a light, like a yellow, over a dark area in colored pencil that has colored pencil underneath or anything, if you put yellow over anything, it's not going to look yellow like it's on top of it. It's just the colors underneath are going to show right through it. But you can work from light to dark somewhat with the paint pens for opacity there. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, the wax of the colored pencils. Those colored pencils are wax, right? All right. We might have to add in that background. I can tell is going to be so much more vibrant than the covered bridge. We're going to have to bring in some, I don't know, a little bit more powerful color into that covered bridge, because now the covered bridge, everything else around it is making it look a little bit anemic. we need to I don't know, it's the focal point, but it can't, your focal point can't be the most boring in terms of, well, it can be. I mean, these trees are going to be like super exciting, but as far as like a focal point, you can't have it just so far behind, you know, and lacking in, I don't know, whatever power. All right, this here comes the orange. Look at that, starting to really kind of shimmer a little bit more. I'm going into some of that red tinge a little bit. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing actually from a strategic standpoint. Okay, so if the trees are like this, okay. Not one of my finer days coloring or drawing. But just in general, what I'm doing, and these are the darker areas, okay, like right in here, all right? So there's these little tufts within the tree structure, okay? And what I'm doing is I'm hitting these areas right in here with a darker tone like this, okay? And then what I'm doing is I'm going into that a little bit more with some of this orange like this, okay? So it's going to transition from a dark to light and dark to light like that, you know, through these layers. So right here, you can see these layers in here. It's a little bit darker right here and darker right here. I hit the red in that darker area, and I didn't go up too far. So you can see this where it goes dark to light and dark to light up here. It'll be more apparent when I bring in like a yellow up here, something like that. But that's what's happening right here strategically. So I'm not just uniformly coloring the tree like this, okay? I mean, I might bring in dots or something like that. You know, it doesn't mean that you just completely avoid certain areas. I mean, you can bring it around, but I'm kind of concentrating more of these transitioning values where they would kind of naturally go in terms of light. So in other words, they're going to be top lit, okay? So I need to use a little bit more of this one, but let me just bring in this yellow just so you can see what I'm talking about here, if this yellow stands out enough. Okay, so on the tops of the trees, see, I didn't bring in a lot of that red up there. So let's see if this is going to be light enough where you can see it. And remember, some of these trees are a little bit different colors than others, you know, maybe. Okay, so can you see that right there? So it's a little bit of yellow right down here in the darker area. Then right up there is this little bit of highlighting, and right up there. And that's what's going to be happening throughout. I'm going to vary some of it so that all these trees don't just look uniform. Maybe we'll have some trees kind of more reddish tinge or something like that. But we'll do all this type of work down in these areas as well. And then it's going to look so crazy that we'll just blend it out with some white pigment ink, you know, to kind of mellow it out a little bit. Actually, some of these are looking a little bit too, it's looking a little bit too uniform. I need to bring in some like different trees next to each other. So this is a covered bridge right here that actually is in Belgium. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. It's in South Australia. These are gum trees. All right. I'm joking, folks. All that. Okay, so let's see here. That. I'm going to concentrate a little bit more of this orangish tinge here. What this is going for is it's going for a little bit more. Actually, it's looking a little bit better. You know, kind of an impressionistic look with these little dots of, you know, that's supposed to represent colored light like that. Here's the thing that's kind of well, the thing that's standing out to me is that we have this all green down here, but you know, in fall tones, you see ground cover. You know, also becomes you know, there's certain types of little bushes and hedges that are on the ground that also are, you know, they turn that fall color scheme too. So I'm going to put some of this in these areas like this, you know, because they are also in full color like here. All right. I need to get it out to some area that has some really good fall color. In the US, it'd be like the, I don't know, Northeast. As you start building some of this up and you start turning this around, you put your finger in some wet paint here periodically. I noticed the paint is probably staying a little bit wetter on this surface than, you know, whatever cardstock, I think. Oh, you know why? Again, it's because I'm applying that over the colored pencils. I think if I was applying it directly on the pearl that has that, you know, coating on there that makes your inkjet printers dry faster, I think it would dry fairly quickly. So, but yeah, over the top of that wax, it's a little bit tacky. But I mean, this stuff, I mean, it's not going to stay like wet for a super long time or anything like that. Okay, so let's get some variation in these overhanging tree limbs here as well. Okay. So we'll vary some of the colors up top like this. Maybe we'll leave a little bit darker in here some areas, but we'll also use some orange up there. Maybe I'll stay a little bit darker up here though, just because it frames the scene off a little bit more. If it's kind of dark, it's like providing a kind of a natural vignette. All right, so there's this red in here. Glad you're able to join in, Panic Coffee. Oh, good night, Kay. We're really a lot of people out here, especially if they're Eastern Standard Time. You know, there's four time zones in the U.S. Actually, there's five. Is it five if they count? Is Alaska and Hawaii in different time zones? That would be five or six time zones. Well, everyone goes to sleep. Even everyone out here in my time zone might be going to bed. Anyway, this scene right here would look kind of interesting in that pink purple color scheme that I've been doing too. Now that I look at this. Okay, adding in some of this orange up here. I'll add it in some of these branches, but then I'll just add it in between the branches, and it could be some additional branches behind there or something like that. I'm kind of curious to see if how opaque the orange is, and if that pearl paper kind of will shine through it a little bit. Okay, like that. I'm telling myself this right now as much as you guys, but it's like I have to hold this up at kind of arm's reach to get the feel of what I'm applying and how it is affecting kind of the overall um, color scheme and I don't know, maybe the balance of this piece here. Because when you start getting focused in on this, it's easy to get kind of carried away with the dots, and you're just kind of looking at things kind of isolated, but not kind of holding it out at arm's reach to get kind of a good idea of the overall and how things are looking. Now this one right here, I usually add in more variation in these trees, but I think it looks better if I just leave kind of some more of those solid areas like that with a little bit of darker tinge. I tend to go into those ones, but sometimes it occurs to me when I look at the final results, or I look at photographs of um, fall toned areas or whatnot. Sometimes it occurs to me, I need to get more gutsy and go with, just more straight kind of reds, and brighter reds and solids like that, solid, areas of color. Where maybe I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit more too conservative about that, or, measured. Okay, so this is going in with some green here. I'm adding this darker green into these shaded areas. It's not a super dark green. I wonder if I have an even darker one. I do not. A brown might look okay too. But I don't know. This is like a chocolate or something like that. Okay, let's see. Okay, this isn't doing too much, but it's just kind of adding kind of a textural quality in these other areas to kind of match the textures that are going on within the trees with all those little colored dots like that. Okay. And let's go to the lighter one. So the areas that are light like that will remain light, just like some areas of the trees. I made some of the trees a lot darker though with that red, just because I don't know, I needed to I don't know, vary it a little bit more. I don't know. It was looking a little bit too transitioned in some areas. Okay, so this is some bright yellow green. Well, maybe that's not. It's a light green, I should say. Warm, definitely warmer. Not too bright though. It's not like a neon green or anything like that. I'm going up into some of these trees as well. You really can't see it too much, but again, it's just kind of a textural addition just for the purpose of a little bit of textural continuity, okay? It's more subtle. You can see it kind of here, like in person a little bit, but it's not something that's really standing out very much. Okay, so the road and that bridge in there look really anemic, and they need help here. So what I'm going to try to do, I didn't go all the way with my colored pencils on there, so we're going to try to get a little bit more bright, or just, I don't know, full with some more colored pencils, but I'll also bring in some paint into this area right here, okay? And on the road here too. Okay, so we can get much darker, like with something like this, and that's what this is missing. It's missing kind of a fullness to it, or visual weight, because everything else is like so much richer. Okay, so let's see here. What's crazy to me is I didn't know, but like China's a huge country, right? But I heard they have there's one time zone in all of like China. So I thought, what, so some people just, in some areas of China, you just go to work at, whatever. The average workday is like from 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. or something like that. I guess that would be, right? Okay, so see this right here? I'm kind of transitioning it here from dark to light right here, just for variation again. And we'll do that again on the side here, okay? Or maybe I'll have it a little bit kind of like transitioning from dark to light to dark like that. Here's what this looks like, guys. You guys are looking at it with a lot of shimmer and glare on it there. It looks like that. This is the way this is looking. You guys are looking at it like this, with a lot of glare coming off of it. Now, I mean, this will probably be the viewing type of thing. People will be looking at it like that, so, I should do it accordingly. But it's not quite that kind of washed out as it looks like that, when I have it flat like this and it's picking up all my studio kind of lighting in here. Norway. I need to get to Norway. I want to see the northern lights in places like Norway. I think there's like, is Norway the place that's got like there's like specific like areas that you can go, like these little, rooms or whatever with like like an open, like a window. I don't know. I thought it was Norway. Like certain types of years where you go in your little room and you kick back and you watch you watch the northern, the Aurora Borealis, the northern lights. We don't have we're not seeing that places like that in San Diego. We can go see like meteor showers though, in the deserts and whatnot. I used to do that all the time. I think it was the Leonids that come around like once a year or something like that. Okay, so see that it's standing up a little bit better now, against that background. Just getting stronger values on there, right here, and transitioning that. So it's a little bit more interesting if you kind of make it varied, even if it's on the same plane going back. Okay, and that's the same thing with the rooftop. You just vary it a little bit, and it just looks a little bit more kind of three-dimensional that way. And same thing with the road here, a little bit darker, a little bit lighter in some areas like that. So, okay, let's see. We need to have a stamping retreat at the isn't the ice hotel in Sweden? Maybe it's like global warming. They can't even do that ice hotel anymore. I'm laughing not from global warming, but from the idea of having a rubber stamping retreat in an ice hotel, which I thought was in Sweden. Maybe it was Norway. I don't know. Okay, so a little bit more of a defined road. It's okay. I think that was enough. I think the imagery right here, the road and this, it's sitting in the scene a little bit more and kind of related to the surrounding area much stronger. Glad you like it, Alicia. Okay, so the big part, Alicia, if you've just joined in here, is this piece right here was my big experiment with colored pencils on to the pearl paper. And for me, it's just kind of shocking because I had this printed out right here, just this test piece of pearl. And I laid down 2 layers of the colored pencil on top of this mill. And I thought, oh my gosh, this pearl paper. I didn't want to keep testing. I've done the last like 3 or 4 videos with this pearl paper. I get, not that I get bored out of overall, but if I just do it over one after another like that. But I thought this is just, I got to test this colored pencils on here to see if it works out. Hey, Linda, good to see you. Linda, wow. Cool seeing you on. Linda's a long-time stamper, Southern California stamper that I used to see 3 times a year at the Carson shows back in the heyday. Glad you're liking it, Christine. I pray that I don't wreck it now. I'm just joking. Okay, so see, here's the thing. I wish I could zoom in much closer for you guys, but I'm going to show you a very blurry version of it right now. Maybe you can just kind of get the gist of kind of those paint pen kind of textures on here. Okay, but see, those textures are not on anywhere down here. I don't necessarily want this full of dots or anything like that, okay? But I do want it to be kind of texturally not equal to this area and, around there, but you just want to have something, sort of in there. Okay, so I'm going to add these little textures, these little paint dots in an area that's going to be roughly the same value as that color right there. So that looks like it's going to be on the perimeter. I thought it was a lot lighter, but yeah, maybe it's not. It's a little bit darker than I thought. So I'll have it in the shadows. So it just kind of matches up a little bit more. Okay, so you probably can't see it in there. I don't know. Just, everyone close their eyes and imagine dots on a road. Okay, so and then maybe I'll add this also in some areas of the the covered bridge. So there's these little slats on the bridge like this going down, okay, like on the side. And what I'm doing is I'm just putting in some little, textures like this, like with the grain, okay? And I'll add those little things in there, and I'll add them in probably in areas that you won't really see it very closely or at first, but if someone looked closer, I think they'd be able to see it, okay? And just from a textural point of view, it just gives it at least something to relate to all the paint work that's going around. After all, we have a lot of those little paint pen dots in here. So those areas are in a sense painted, it's over the top of the colored pencils if you just joined in, but you know what I mean. We have to get some paint in all these areas when you use it in these areas like that. Otherwise, it just unless you want something to just really stand out as something different, then do it. Don't do it. Don't add something to it that relates to it. But I do want this one to kind of merge in a little bit more. I'll add in some of this area into my grass and some of these trees. Again, it's not like, oh, there's that same brown right there or tan in here. We're not thinking of that or maybe even noticing it. But I think just from an overall kind of a harmony standpoint, just having those common little touches like that of hue in this case, I guess hue and value of this color, it just merges in a little bit better. Okay, so like that. Okay. Linda, do you stamp anymore? Let's see, the Stamper sisters are here. Ingrid, anywhere near. Oh, Ingrid? Yeah, she's in the next room. I don't think she's ever, she's never watched. I don't think she might have watched a live stream before once or something like that. I think she subscribed to the channel. Ingrid's my wife, by the way. People are probably laughing. So, she's not a. Oh yeah, she borrowed my white pen, my good white pen. This one right here is a little bit dry. I need to text her. I need my white pen back. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Linda. That's right, in the Yahoo groups from way back when. That's right. Yeah, it's Linda Y, Linda B, and Linda D. There's no two, initials the same, though. Okay, so here comes white, all right. Now, the white is usually the thing that really kind of unifies things because I'm usually working on something that has white on there, but it's almost more silvery. It's that pearlish looking thing. I guess when I go like that, there's that white reflective light, though. Look at how that pearl kind of shows through in these areas like that, though, huh? Especially like down this road. So, so here's the difference between just a white piece of paper and the pearl like that, you know what I mean? Like I said, I don't know if the pearl is better to work on for certain things. Like, I don't know if this scene's more effective on the pearl. It's just, I don't know, it's just different for sure, And it's kind of fun to play around with like that. Just to... I like working on things. Like that white really stands out in there. I like working on things that are just kind of different. And as I'm working on them, I like seeing things that I haven't seen before. Not all the time, because, I don't want to experiment all the time. I want to be working on some refinements. And, once you get a kind of a good combination of, media down as far as what really works, then you want to try it in application with some different compositions and, come out with the scenes that are the most conducive for that technique and whatnot, and, things like that. But I really do enjoy learning new things, and it's always a surprise lately with the printer papers, like printable vinyl. Who would have thought, huh? Or holographic printable vinyl starry sticker paper. I don't, yeah. I don't like the one thing I don't like is the long names for these, or the long descriptions. It, it, it's it ties my, it twists my tongue. Okay, so all right, this white is like standing out much more than I thought it would. Like in there, you see that? This one's you guys can see this, right? So I'll use this in um, the road here too. I didn't know if this white would look good on here because it usually represents what the white light that's kind of reflecting, but I guess that is because this is the white up here. Even though if it was all silver like that, I guess it would still look okay. But you get that kind of shimmer like this. This is what I like about the star, I mean, the pearl, is that you get, in certain angles, you're always going to get this kind of lighting up there like that. And it's darker over here, so I'm usually trying to get that effect with white pieces of paper by toning in a little bit on the edges so it looks like it's lighter in the middle. But this one's just, you're just taking advantage of the characteristic of the paper, and the light is going to always be changing in it. Now, if you're looking at it in a dark room, it's going to look like that. You know, you're not going to have any light up there inherently represented unless you do add a little bit of tone here on the side. But, you know, most of the time, you know, when people are looking at your cards, they're going to be looking at it and, you know, in some light, you know, otherwise you wouldn't be able to see it, right? So, okay, so here's some of this white on the rooftop here as well. Try to get a little bit of texturing in here. That's white pen. My other white pencil, this one's getting a little bit dry on me, so it's not giving me as clean of a mark here. In fact, it might have went dry. I can see it's like dry in here. Yeah. All right, let me try something here. I haven't done this. Dare I use this? This is a 3mm. It scares me to use it, but you can get a pretty small little dot sometimes if you just kind of like do a small dab like this. All right, so a little bit on that road like that. That white is not going to look that white when it dries, though. Watch it does, though. I don't know. It shouldn't. Okay, that's a little bit. There's no way I'm using that 3mm up there on that mill. Okay, so here's the good thing about these little colored pencils too. I can get some of these other colors in those windows. I usually don't bother coloring in those window areas. Like you can see through it, you know, into those trees in the back. But since these are like detail oriented, you know, applicators here, tools, I can get that right in there, in that little spot, like about like so. All right. You know, I still haven't stamped this. I'm praying that I get this and I don't like skew it or something like that at this point in time. If I do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp this on another piece of paper and we're going to cut it out. I'm going to mat it, and then we're going to put this matted, like framed version in there. Okay, so let's use some white pigment ink in here, okay? So we do have a pretty decent surface on here. I think it's nice and vibrant and, I don't know, glowing, I guess, and shimmery. Let's see. Let me look at those trees again here. I think we do. I think I need some of this white in those trees up here. Okay. See how that's really kind of shimmery like that? This one's really drying out on me here. Okay, I need to go get my pen here. I've gone through these white pens like crazy. These are the two from the Artistro set. I will be right back. It's just It's like 20 feet from me. Ingrid, can I have that white pen? She's in the live stream, watching the live stream. Okay. I said hi to Ingrid for you, Linda. Linda Y. Okay, so let's see here. All right. Good to see you, Angered Pegasus. You guys have a great day. Thanks for joining in. Good morning to you. Hope to see you on the next live. Okay, so see these little touches in there? That's bringing those trees to life a little bit more. Just kind of giving them a little bit of a shimmer and a little bit of separation between, yeah, maybe the different, I don't know, branches or whatever like that. See that in there? They just stand out a little bit more. This is where working with the paint pens, where you work dark to light like that. And then you kind of lay down, kind of a little bit more of a thicker layer of your darker tones, and you build up kind of progressively, with it's like sparser applications of it. Now that's maybe it's standing out a little bit too much, but like I said, that white paint in there kind of, it mellows out and it gets a little bit darker in the background like that. But those types of little applications like that too, when I add in that white pigment ink, they stand out from the background through that kind of that little misty haze a little bit stronger. Let's see, let's get these little fence posts a little bit stronger in here. See, I've colored the, areas in here, but I can just kind of, if I've colored in anything too much, I can just kind of reclaim it with my white paint pen. See that little fence in there? And I'm going to come in there again. Oh, one of the things I didn't do too is I didn't add in some, sometimes I like to add in these white trunks a lot of times. I'm not sure if I should do that in here or not. Yeah, let me do it on a couple of these things. I'll do it really thin though. See if I like it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. The designs themselves have kind of a defined trunk. I've lost a lot of it, because I can't see it because I put all the dots over it, but I'm just kind of going in here and kind of just adding that element right back into it. So in other words, I'm not just trying to stay on the existing design. I'm just kind of, I don't know, making it up here. I can see some of them a little bit. Okay, that looks better, I think. All right, and then what I do is I mellow that out a little bit. I'll just kind of break up some of those straight lines a little bit more with, a couple dots, because the trunk isn't on the outside of the tree or anything like that. All right, so let's see. Let's add in the white pigment ink here first before we go into the quote. I'm not going to do anything up here. All right, so white pigment ink. I think just about any white pigment ink should work for this purpose. It doesn't have to be the brilliance. So you just kind of tap some of it on a cotton ball like so. 100% cotton ball. They're not more expensive or anything like that, but they're more absorbent, and when they're more absorbent, they can transfer better like that. If it's synthetic, it kind of wicks moisture away from the surface, so you don't have very much to apply on here. I can't get any kind of application with the synthetic ones at all. Okay, so we're going to add this. Hello, Paulette. I'm going to add in this type of effect where lighter areas meet darker areas. And I'm not going to add it in everywhere in here, okay? I like to oscillate things. I like to have it kind of at the base of some trees sometimes, and this little area stayed a little bit lighter. Not by design, it just kind of happened to be that way, so I just kind of stayed with it and kind of let that area stay light, so it looks like light is hitting right there, right? So anything that's lighter in here, it looks like light is hitting that area. So those are the areas that would, where we would be able to see kind of illuminated moisture in the air, like in the form of mist, right? So in those light areas, you kind of start dabbing in like that, and then you kind of work into that area to the side of it like that. So you don't want to just keep going like this with a big super wet application of white paint or anything like that, or white pigment ink, okay? By the way, this is white right here, not silver. It looks kind of silver as it's sitting there. So again, and I'm doing this very dry, okay? This ink pad it's not very wet, but see that already there? And I'll add a little bit more here. This is all I'm gonna do on this road too, okay? I'm not gonna add too much more. But it goes kind of like a little bit softer here, none here, some here. It already looks like that because that area kind of stamped out like that. Let's see. I'll put a little bit more in there like that. It's almost like mist is coming out of there, like a magical thing. Okay, and then light is up here, so we'll turn that a little bit more with some of this atmospheric mist in the background like that. It looks like it's illuminated like that. I think it looks a little bit more kind of magical that way, or mystical. Having that kind of those softer elements in there like that right over here, just to kind of balance things off. And things get a little bit kind of vibrating, in here when you add so much of that paint, but this is a way to go and kind of mellow that out a little bit. Not that you're covering up all of your applications of those dots, okay, but you're just you're just kind of balancing it out with this other type of softer element or texture within the same kind of overall here. Now, if this was a white piece of paper, I'd have some of this coming over the tops of some of these trees, but this white in here mutes out that whole kind of shimmery type of pearl effect, so I'm not going to do that on this one. If I added in like some specific clouds in here or something like that, I think that would look good, but I didn't add clouds in here, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, now again, this Brilliance ink is just like the paint pens. They kind of dry. Oh, that is a white dot there. That it's not getting as dark as it normally does. I don't know. Maybe that's a good thing about this paper. I don't know. Oh, or maybe it's because of the colored pencil that we already laid down too. I forgot about that. But that is that. Okay, so see this kind of this little misty iridescence. I'm going to wipe some of it off. Let's see. Yeah, that looks better. Okay. So you can kind of mellow it out. If you add too much, you can just add it in there. But usually I never add in too much because it just kind of mutes out. But I don't know. I think we're staying pretty strong as far as the applications go. Let me see that little tree back there. It's a little bit lighter like that. I'm going to go with that. Let's add on a little bit of that white ink back in here, like light is coming through there or something. Yeah, something like that. See, this is like I don't know, it's like a dreamier type of surface now, I think. Okay, adding a little bit more. See, it's taken me a long time to kind of build it up because I have very little ink on here, so it's a lot easier to control that way. Okay. That is that. All right, I won't go overboard with it. All right, so a stamp positioner could potentially be a valuable asset in this condition. But if I don't get this stamped out well, I'm just going to stamp it on a different piece of paper and apply it, drop it in there. I pray I don't stamp it upside down in there. Nature always wears the colors of the spirit. It's a little bit lighter on top, but not too bad. All right, let's see here. This would be on a white piece of paper. Oh, let me see here. I'll mat this up on something. I'll probably put it on. I'm not sure what to do on the pearls yet. I haven't played around with it, but I'll use probably a little piece of white around that. And I don't know, it looks pretty good on the black. This is like a matte black or something like that. But anyways, let's see. So let's check out the... let me see something here too. I wonder if I can get a good impression of the glare over the top of all that colored pencil. Does anyone want to make a bet? I don't know. I've been betting for or against. I'm just not sure. Okay, that looks pretty good. But actually, I didn't print it over the colored pencil too much there. These are the reeds large here. Oh, good thing I didn't put my hand. I wasn't sure if that quote stamp was dry yet. All right, a little bit better, huh? Like that with those reeds down there. I think it gave it a little bit more dimension. Like so. All right, so let's see here. All right, so there we have it. There's a lot of glare on it that way, but this is what it looks like that. That quote looks really light up top like that, but it's not that light. You get a lot of that glare showing through that right there, but I wish I could show you up close the impressions that are just straight on the pearl. I guess you can kind of see it right here a little bit, but these impressions that you do in dye-based inks on top of the pearl, these impressions, it looks like you've used a glistening kind of iridescent ink to print them out on, but you didn't. You just, it was just transparent dye-based inks, but you just get that pearl kind of, see that pearl kind of coloring just shows through. It almost looks like you've applied some sort of a, like a mist over the top of it just because it has some of that glare on there, so it just, you know what I mean? It just gets darker and lighter depending on the light that's on it. So that's, I guess that's one of the benefits of this, just, it's a changing surface in some ways. I mean, it's not, changing like this, like so extreme. It's just kind of a little bit more of a subtle type of a change. I don't know if you haven't used it before, if you have some kind of pearl papers in your repertoire or anything like that, your supplies that you haven't tried stamping on before, it might be a fun little thing to just to do a little comparison contrast type of thing with it, using different types of media. Your pearl might be a cardstock too. It might be a something like like a Star Dream silver or something like that. Okay, but you got to find the media that's going to take to that surface. And not all star dreams, like for example, take the media the same. Like a lapis lazuli I found was vastly different than like a gold star dream, of the iridescent, line. It was the same brand, same line of inks, and those ones didn't even take the inks, the same. So I don't know. You just got to kind of play around with it a little bit. Still has, who is that? The invitation only scenic group. Let's see here. Still has okay, so you're saying that Linda, you still have some King James Cascode, huh? Easy Road has quartz gravel. I love it, Linda. Yeah. Where we go out hiking in the deserts, I often come across there's tons of quartz out there in some areas that are really glistening with quartz. In fact, I have this one secret spot in Joshua Tree National Park that I call the what did I call it? The ice. Oh yeah, the ice cactus garden, because it's just all quartz in this little area, and there's like every type of cacti that pretty much are out in Joshua Tree, but they're all growing through the quartz. It's like this little area that I don't think anyone ever goes to because you have to go off trail to it. But it's not too far off trail, but it's really cool. But I love quartz. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, Linda, you got to try this paper. You probably got some of this paper in your collection, right? Some iridescence. No, I don't know. This one's the printable iridescent, but you can probably come up with something that are pretty cool for that. I am creating new stamps for the shop. Yeah. Um, I have this new one that I haven't worked on for a little bit of time because I got really busy, but it's kind of in the spirit of those Chinese, they call it ink paintings, and it's of like those different kind of islands and the mist that you see. I forgot that area of China or whatever. I think there's areas in like Vietnam too that kind of look like that. But those kind of what was that computer animated movie? I think it starts with an A that had all these islands in the sky though. They weren't on the ground. They were floating. These ones aren't floating, but it's kind of in that spirit, kind of real mystical type of thing. Tom's Kincaid puzzles, yeah. So at least you can stamp something out and you can be a stamper of light, for your scenes. You can probably do something like this. Do they have like something where you can, what you can do? I think you can do, like if you had a Cricut, there's probably those things that would cut out like a puzzle, your pieces that you do, and you can probably do you can make them into a puzzle, right? So you can even have your own, stamper of light personalized puzzles, or something like that, I would guess. If you have a Cricut or whatever. Well, I don't know, whatever those things, things that would probably do something like that. Let's see. Thanks, Linda. Um, yeah. Oh, the alien invasion. I need to do more alien invasions. Oh, that's another thing that I wanted to do, especially before Halloween. I wanted to do more abductions. You can never have enough. You can never have too many around the globe abductions, right? Isn't that what they always say? Anyway, I turned down my exposure on my camera a little bit with this right in here, but you can see the colors in there a little bit more. See, if someone was just looking at this, just straight, I don't think they would think anything of it, in terms of the paper. But then again, it's that part of it. And, people are always going to be looking at your card in the light or something like that too. And if you just have it kind of, I don't know, I think it's an extra dimension maybe if you have something on an inherently maybe a little bit more of a dynamic surface that you're starting off with if you have some of that surface still remaining in there. Just because it's reflective of light, it kind of makes it a little bit more interesting, especially if some people haven't seen that before, If everyone was stamping on foils and things like that, and, like holographics or something like this is going to be very tame uh, in comparison, I think, just in terms of the visual loudness of it. But it's kind of like more of a, it's a little bit more of a tranquil kind of, oh, I don't know, kind of dynamics to it. It's just kind of a little bit more of a softer glow, than certainly, you know, the these types of reflectives, right? You know, which I like. I was gonna do this one today. I wanted to do this one right here, but I wanted to put some clouds up here, like white clouds in here, so you just see some of this kind of, changing kind of subtle backgrounds in the sky. But then I did that little mark on the pearl like that with the colored pencils. Like, okay, looks like we're gonna go with one more live stream on the pearl just to test out those colored pencils. I think the colored pencils on this pearl are really great, and the fact that you can stamp out kind of darker impressions using the VersaFine Clair, which of course is a really dynamic black ink, of course, for any type of surface, and apparently it's fine on these printable surfaces, printable vinyls, and printable papers. Where the old style printable paper, I don't know, my VersaFine Clair never dried on it, so I don't know, go figure. Yeah, your own puzzles. I think you've got to do it. People used to do that, Alicia. Does anyone here remember those blank puzzles that you used to get? And you could stamp on them, right? And then what people did was they took them apart, and then you put them into an envelope, and you send it to them that way. So it's you make someone, I don't know, you're not really making them a card. I guess it's a puzzle or something like that. But they would stamp on it, and then people put together the puzzles when they got it. I don't know if it's like this big old, what I mean, thing. You're not supposed to mail these things that are over like a quarter inch or something like that. Otherwise, it goes up to the next rate or something like that. But that's what people used to do with those kind of blank puzzles in stamping. But now if people have their own, things that they can cut their own puzzles. There's probably different like amounts. Like you can probably cut out I don't know, whatever, 10-piece puzzle or a 5-piece puzzle or a whatever, and send it off to them like that. All right, Christine, thanks for joining in, everyone. Experiments, in the Stampscapes lab. Pencils on Pearl. I think it was pretty fun to do. Just alone for me, it was okay. Maybe not terribly exciting though, but again, as a foundation for the paint pen work, I think it worked out really fantastic, and looks pretty vibrant. If I wanted some more mellow applications or something like that were really subtle, without the paint pen work, I think the colored pencils on this pearl would be pretty cool. But from what I can tell, go with the softer, the colored pencil, or if not, people were, someone mentioned watercolor pencils. I think someone mentioned the watercolor pencils were pretty soft too. So maybe those ones would work on this type of paper too. But you can build up more with the softer, medium like that if you're building up like multiple layers like that. I was surprised I thought I reached the end of some of those colors, but then I got to a softer one and just applied it right over the top of it, and it went out just fine like that. And one of these reds here, So yeah. Yeah, check it out, Laura. If you feel inclined, I'll do a fast voiceover version of it too. But basically, it was just how I strategize with my colored pencils and paint pens. In terms of just getting the different color families and just basically putting them in order from light to dark and applying them in that order on the papers like that. So, and then it was just kind of figuring out if it would work or not. I had no idea, and or how much I would be able to do with that. So I don't know. Like I said, it's pretty fun, and I do like the end results of these pearl papers. So, but I think I think this will be my last pearl. At least I don't know. I have these other papers I want to try out for after this, but I don't know. I think it's a keeper in terms of the pearl. It was just a matter of getting some. Yeah, we got spammed on there like that, huh? They're really digging deep, when they're going, down to these very niche channels like Stampscapes, and it must be a robot doing it. It has to. I don't know. Crazy, huh? All right, so everyone, good night, good morning, good afternoon to you. We got got a nice international viewership going on tonight. So, yeah, if you have any discoveries with your different types of papers or whatnot, if you have anything similar to like that, I'd like to know. If you've tried anything out, like I don't know, colored pencil sticks or something. If pan pastels worked or something like that, you know what I mean? Something like things that I just don't think would work on certain types of surfaces. I've kind of proved, they've proved me wrong. I've tried them though, and sometimes I've been pleasantly surprised. So I don't know. It's good for all of us, right? To have kind of options, which is what it's all about. And I don't know, learning and variation. And of course, we want to get good results too. We don't want to just experiment and, find out a bunch of stuff that doesn't work, right? But I don't know. It's always kind of fun to see, like I said, new things kind of, appear before your eyes or whatever as you're working on them, which is always kind of exciting. All right. Thanks again, everyone. Hope to see you in future streams. All right. Good night, everyone.